Alright, episode 3 of Ahsoka has dropped on Disney+, and so myself being a fan, of course I shall talk about this with the spoilers. That is a spoiler warning. If you have not watched the third episode of Ahsoka yet, and you plan on it, do not watch this video because I will be talking about what happens in it. If you have watched it or you don't care, then you are welcome to stay. Okay, disclaimers done, here we go. So this episode, I noticed it focuses a lot on Sabine Wren's lack of force sensitivity, which if I'm getting right into it, the whole topic of who is force sensitive and who is not, that's been a hot topic among Star Wars fans for decades. And I felt that this episode touched on it in a really good way, probably for the first time ever. I mean, it starts off with a pretty familiar activity that we've seen in Star Wars before, training with the blast shield blocking your vision. Yeah, Ahsoka is training Sabine with the blast shield over her entire face. She can't see. Straight up throwback to the first movie with Ben and Luke. I mean, even almost down to the dialogue. Sabine even says, "How am I supposed to fight?" I wanted Ahsoka to be like,
"Your eyes can deceive you, don't trust them."
Of course, this doesn't copy that scene verbatim. This is a different take on it. Instead of the remote ball droid firing the little blasters, it's sparring with blades. It kind of reminded me, aesthetically anyway, of the sparring scene from Pacific Rim. Same kind of deal here. Even the music is kind of similar. But it's cool though, because we see that Sabine is just not as in tune with the Force as she has seen others be. I mean, yeah, towards the end of the scene, she does, I think, sense where Ahsoka is, but of course she does still lose in the end. But it's interesting, because of a point that I'll touch on later. After the scene, we jump to Hera Syndulla, who's with the New Republic fleet, and we see her talking with the New Republic's Chancellor, surprise to me, Mon Mothma. Yeah, we saw her in the trailer. Genevieve O'Reilly returns to play her, and this is the first time we're seeing this character in this era of Star Wars. And honestly speaking, from what I gather in this scene anyway, she's kind of a dick. I mean, Hera Syndulla's trying to tell them about Grand Admiral Thrawn's return, and they're pretty much treating it like the Ministry of Magic treated Voldemort's return, you know?
He's not back.
Which I must say, that's a pretty common thing in Star Wars these days, at least in this line of shows. Whenever you try to go to the New Republic higher-ups about something important, they will generally dismiss it as if it's not. Which, yeah, is totally giving me the vibes that the Empire is still rooted into this New Republic, like Hydra was in S.H.I.E.L.D. in Captain America the Winter Soldier. This is probably the same kind of deal we're dealing with here. These higher-ups are dismissing these cases because they don't want the Empire's secret being revealed. Now, I'm not saying Mon Mothma is an imperialist, but I am willing to bet that someone in that small council is. I wouldn't put it past them. But then, after that's done, I gotta talk about this, of course. We do see Hera's son, little Jacen Syndulla. Like I said in my video about the trailer, we knew that Hera Syndulla had a son because that's how the Star Wars Rebels finale ended. And so now we see him, and yeah, he is a little bit older. And I love this, because he's like, "I want to be a Jedi." And I was like, well, that could happen. Your father was one after all. Hey, only Filoni knows what his future holds. The rest of us don't know for sure. But I liked seeing him in live action. That was great, because I was wondering about that as a fan of Star Wars Rebels. So props to that. Alright, then we get what is the most important scene in this episode to me. And that is the conversation between Ahsoka Tano and Sabine Wren. Because again, they're talking about the Force, and Sabine Wren is straight up like, "I can't use the Force. I am just not as in tune with it as you are." And Ahsoka's argument here is exactly what I thought of in my head. And that is, the Force resides in all living things in the galaxy. Because it's true, we've known that since day one. Ben Kenobi said it.
It's an energy field created by all living things.
Which I now take to mean that anyone in the Star Wars galaxy can learn to use the Force. But that being said, as Ahsoka further elaborates, talent is a factor in it. So sure, anyone in the Star Wars galaxy is capable of feeling the Force to some degree. The variable then is the level of skill. So really, the term should not be Force sensitive, it should be Force skilled. Because now this show has confirmed for us that every living thing in the Star Wars galaxy can be Force sensitive, but it's the skill that matters. So whether or not someone is Force skilled, that's the real variable right there. And as we see with Sabine Wren, she is not so Force skilled yet. Because we see her trying to move that cup and it's just not working out for her. I like that. She's not going to get it right away, like Rey did. I'm just saying. Like, I'm sure by the end of this season, Sabine is not going to be some Force master as skilled as Rey was by the end of Force Awakens. I don't know what level of skill she is going to have, but this story is taking its time with Sabine's Force abilities, and I think that's just great. It's more natural feeling that way. Hell, maybe it'll culminate in Dave Filoni's eventual movie that happens that concludes this whole thing. Only Filoni knows. But yeah, I just love that. And so, using that tracking device from the last episode, Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hu Yang discover the Eye of Sion. So yeah, we have found it, and we've found that it is indeed a giant hyperspace ring that could travel to another galaxy. And of course, a dogfight ensues. This again takes it back to the original Star Wars film. First of all, with the music. There's a part in the music that totally reminded me of the Death Star raid music. You know, that part was like, ba-ba, ba-ba-bom, bom, bom. Yeah, I totally heard that, Kevin Kiner. Love it. But also, of course, with Sabine on the tail gun. Yeah, totally reminded me of the scene in the original film where Luke was in the tail gun of the Millennium Falcon. And even right down to the part where Sabine shoots and destroys one of those ships and she's like, woo! I wanted Ahsoka to be like,
Great kid, don't get cocky.
These throwbacks that I'm seeing to the original film, call me a blind fan, but I actually kind of like them because they do feel like Star Wars. More than any other show we've gotten in this era, Mandalorian, Boba Fett. In just 3 episodes, this already feels more like Star Wars to me than any of those other shows have, and really it is because of the music, let's be honest. The cinematography and the dogfight, but the music, it just, yeah, that does it for me. But then there is the part where Ahsoka goes outside the ship in a space-like astronaut-like suit, which I know I've seen in one of the animated shows before. I forget which one, but it did look familiar. So yeah, it's not completely out of the blue for Star Wars. I will say though, when she was floating out, I was expecting her to float herself back like Leia did in The Last Jedi. I honestly would have been fine with that, but no, they decided to go this bigger route right here of having Sabine catch the ship up to her. Alright, well, fair enough, I guess. But also, Ahsoka does some pretty cool tricks right there too. I mean, I questioned the gravity of it, the literal gravity that is, and also the fact that she could block ship fire. Like, ship fire, from my understanding, is a lot more powerful than just your standard blaster fire. Then again, she blocked all those clone troopers shooting at her in the Clone Wars finale, so she's just really talented right there. Yeah, she's just that good, I guess. Alright. In any case, we eventually make it into this planet's atmosphere, and that's when we see it. Holy shit, these Purgils come out of nowhere, and they are awesome to see in live action, let me tell ya. I mean, the ensuing chase scene between the good guys and bad guys with the Purgils, that wasn't all as interesting as the dogfight that preceded this. But my big takeaway from this is the fact that the Purgils are even here. That means we are all on the right track here. Yeah, and by all, I mean the good guys and the bad guys. Sabine even says, yeah, I haven't seen those creatures since the day Ezra vanished. So yeah, we're going in the right direction now. And then with what Hu Yang scanned about the Eye of Sion, we learned that yes, this is indeed a giant hyperspace ring. And so that's where the episode ends with them. And so now that has me thinking, I kind of have a basic idea of what we are planning to do now. Because we still want to find Thrawn and Ezra, and now we have a way to do it. So really, the remnants of the Empire have taken care of building the thing for us. All we have to do now is just commandeer it. Yeah, we just take it over, take it for ourselves, and off we go. Shouldn't be too hard, right? What could go wrong? Well, I guess we'll see. So in the end, this 3rd episode of Ahsoka, it's not as mind-blowingly awesome as the first 2 episodes were to me anyway. But of course, I'm still loving this show, and also the fact that Ahsoka is now showing more emotion, because that is one fear I had from the first 2 episodes, is that Rosario Dawson's portrayal of Ahsoka was really emotionless, really stoic, kind of sapped all the emotion out of the Ahsoka we knew from the animated shows. I mean, I get that she's older and wiser now, but still. No, now we see here in this 3rd episode that she does still emote, so that's good. All in all, still having fun. So, Ahsoka, Part 3, ready to fly. Have you watched it yet? What are your thoughts on it? And what are your theories and predictions for next week's episode? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!